glad to be here and have the possibility to meet you all. I came from Stockholm this morning, equally cold there as here, so not sure I recommend it. I will spend the next 15 minutes or so talking about leadership, talking about learnings, talking about career. I will use my 20 years in Ericsson as a way to describe it. And I will show some conclusions that I've come to. I'm not going to say that they're universal. They might not work for you, but they work quite fine for me. But before doing that, I need to check in with you guys a little bit, because this group is so very big. So we need a little bit of a show of hands. And the first question is, who has only experienced good things in your life, in your career? Only good things. Never anything bad happening. That's great for you over there. I really envy you. Yeah. I'm not going to ask who has only experienced bad things, because it's too depressing. Who has experienced a bit of both? Yeah, I think we can talk to each other. So this is one way. This is one graph showing my 20 years at Ericsson. It starts in 1998. We were climbing up to the dot-com hype. It was like a rock concert coming into Ericsson, but middle-aged male engineers in the lead roles. It was crazy, absolute madhouse. Ended in big telecom crisis. Very, very, very painful. Years of restructuring. Company almost went bankrupt. We had to ask our owners for new money. We had to lay off 50,000 people in 2 years' time. Enormously painful. But we got back on our feet again. Rebuilt ourselves. Rebuilt our place in the market. But the market was tough. It wasn't growing. We needed growth. So we decided to find growth outside of our core business. And we had great ideas. But in all honesty, maybe not the execution power to really make it happen. Strategy was failing. Performance was bad. Lots of criticism. CEO had to go. Tough times again. New CEO, new strategy, turnaround, back on our feet again, in a good position for the next technology wave of 5G and IoT that we're going into now. So this is one way of looking at 20 years. There is an alternative curve. If that was the share price development, let's call this the Helena development. So this is my story during the same 20 years. So it starts in 1998. I got a job in the press office. Remember the hype? I was on a high. This was a fantastic thing. I was so proud when I walked in. April 1st, 1998. It was an absolute madhouse in there. There was hype, no structure. It was chaos. Okay. I was way in over my head. I had never had an in-house role. I'd never worked in tech. I didn't know what I was doing. Hard work paid off. 2 years later, I was offered a job in our new office in London. My husband, that I just married, and we moved to London. Life was fantastic. It was great. Had a big international job. I was acing it. Came big telecom crisis. Had to move back to Sweden again. Started working in internal communications because that was clearly what was most needed. Very difficult time for the company. I also got my first leadership position. It was an absolute disaster. I didn't understand anything about what leadership was about. I thought it was about getting more things done, because I would get people working for me. And let me tell you one thing, that does not make a good leader as a starting point. I'll come back to that. Luckily enough, I got out of my leadership role. My first son was born when we were sort of ending the big restructuring. I'd been part of reducing the company by 50,000 people. I've been part of sort of closing down, moving on, difficult decisions every day. And I was so tired. I just wanted to go home and log off. Or at least, that's what I thought I wanted to do. There I found myself alone with a baby, no work. And it was difficult. It was hard not to have the professional role. It was hard not to have everything happening around me all the time. So my 15-year-old son, who is now very tall and handsome, and we're close, he and I had a bit of a rocky start of our relationship. When his younger brother, Lucas, was 2 months old, I was in a car driving from daycare, and I got a phone call from the head of communications. Offered me the job as head of internal comms. There was a vice president position role. I started laughing because the timing was so enormously bad. Plus that I was a lousy boss. I didn't want a leadership position because I felt the first time that I didn't do it well. Maybe parenthood had made me wiser, or age had made me smarter, or something like that, because the next time I tried it worked much better. Because I had realized that leadership is not about you. Leadership is about the people you lead. Leadership is about being interested in people and what we can do together. And as of that time, I also realized that I love leading teams. It's one of my favorite things with my job. If we fast forward to 2010, I was called into a conference room by a new CEO and my boss at the time. They sat me down at a chair and they asked me if I wanted to be a candidate for the job as head of communications for the company. There was an executive team position. My instinct was to say no. I didn't want that job. I had never wanted that job. Too much responsibility, too much work, very efficient way of sort of ruining your life. And I went home and thought about it for a few hours. I thought about how many people get the possibility to do that. How many women in telecoms get the possibility to do that. So I went back and I said yes. And I was on a high there for a while. I felt great. Scored a great job. Felt great for about 2 days until I realized the extent of the responsibility of that job that I'd just gotten. Because even though I'd done most of the work before, I'd always had someone else to rely on. And now all of a sudden that person was me. There was no one else to go to. I don't even remember much of that first year. I made a deal with myself not to quit voluntarily during the first year. And I basically worked my way through it. It was hard. I had to start shaping the team around me. I had to have some very tough conversations with people that had been my peers before, that had to leave. I also started sort of forming the team that I still have today. And some of those team members that I trust a lot are still working with me today. Then, at this time, it was the growth strategy. We were growing into outside of our core business. It was great to be in marketing, brand, communications. We were going places, doing things. But as you already know, it didn't last. The strategy was failing. Performance was bad. Financials were bad. Media were chasing us. CEO had to leave. We had to reduce budgets, take away team members. At the same time, I had a very difficult situation in my personal life, which was good in a way, because when everyone kept going on about how difficult my job must be, that wasn't the most difficult part in my life. So for me, I also realized that a job at the end of the day is just a job. I never thought I would continue after that. I never thought I'd find the energy again to go out and have that absolute dedication that you need for these kind of jobs. But in came a new CEO, new strategy. It was fun again. It was interesting again. And today we have done that turnaround. And I'm so happy and so proud to have been part of that. Because of our customers, of course, because of our owners, but most of all because of our people. And all the great people in the company that have worked through all of these ups and downs, no matter which of these graphs you show, and that I worked together with for so long time. So it's been quite a ride, but it's also been a lot of learnings during this time. And a few things just to summarize. And of course, you have to do your job. You have to deliver value to your customers and to the company. That's table stakes. Otherwise, you never get a seat at the table. But 5 things. First of all, start by doing your job really well. It's much more important than the way that you write the resume or anything like that. I always look for people that perform in the job that they have, no matter what that is, that do good, that do great. Second, as I said before, leadership is about the people you lead, it's not about you. So find people, find leaders that care about people, that are interested and curious about people. That's where you find good leaders. Trust in the team. You have to trust in the team, but you also have to go deep when you really feel that you have to go deep. I never meddle in details until I really meddle in details. And then there is basically no end to it. Working with the right people is more important than having the right job. Whenever I talk to especially young career professionals, I tell them to go out and find a boss they want to work with, find the team they want to work with. That will take you to much better places than having the right title on a business card. You have to take chances as they occur. Career planning doesn't work because it's built on the assumption that the job that is next in your career step is actually available when you want it. The main problem is normally that someone else already has that job and might not be willing to move exactly at the time that you think that he or she should. So you have to take the chances as they occur. But of course, you can't be without navigation. You can't be without direction. So you have to find your North Star. You have to know what it is that you stand for. And for me and my team, we work with absolute integrity, we work with absolute honesty, and a dedicated focus to the task. That's the only way that we can be smart enough, sharp enough, and fast enough when the going gets tough. Because it does every now and then. It can get really tough, as we saw. And whatever you do, stay away from this attitude, because that's never going to take you anywhere. Thank you.